All right, so question number 1, we're rounding to 2 significant figures. So remember, you start with the very first number on the left-hand side. You don't have to worry about decimal places. My first significant figure is the 3. The next one's going to be the 4. Okay, they're the 2 numbers that I want to keep. Everything after that needs to round off. Because the next number is a 7, it means I need to round up, and it will become 3, 5, and then zeros for the other numbers. So 0, 0, 0. 35,000 is what you should get. Question 2, write 0.65 as a simplified fraction. All you need to do is type in 0.56 into your calculator and press equals. If you press the SD button, it will turn it into a fraction for you. Okay, so 14 out of 25. Question 3, converting an improper fraction to a mixed numeral. That's also done on your calculator, so practice it as we do it. You need to use the 3 boxes. You'd get that by pressing Shift and then your fraction button. You get the 3 boxes that come up. And you put 3, then you use the cross arrow, 1, down arrow, 4, and press equals. And it turns it into an improper fraction for you. So that's 13 out of 4. Question 4 and question 5, you do have to show working out for these questions to get the full marks. And it says there, show all working out, and it will say it on your exam as well. So to do the working out, if it is an addition or subtraction problem, then you have to have a common denominator. You do that by timesing the 2 bottom numbers together. 4 times 5 is 20. So make one big fraction with a 20 on the bottom. Then you times diagonally. 3 times 5 is 15. And the other way, 2 times 4 is 8. And there'll be a plus sign in between. So it's 15 plus 8 on the top. Add together 15 and 8 and you get 23 out of 20 for the final answer. Okay, so that's for adding and subtracting, that you do that same method. The only difference for subtracting is that you will have a minus sign in here instead of a plus. Question 5 is a division. And multiplication and division are very similar. Division just has an extra step. And the extra step, if you remember me saying this at the beginning of the year, is the leave, kiss, flip. Remember me saying that? Okay. So when you see the divide, you leave the first fraction. So you write it down exactly the same, 3 over 7. Kiss means that the divide is going to turn into a times. Because when you do kisses and hugs on your cards, you put little X's, right? They look like kisses. And flip means that you turn the second fraction upside down and it becomes a 15 over 6. Okay? Now, this is multiplying, so this is how you would do a multiplying from this stage onwards. To do a multiplying question, all you have to do is multiply the top numbers together. So 3 times 15 is 45. And multiply the bottom numbers together. 7 times 6 is 42. But you also need to type that into your calculator to make sure that it is fully simplified. So just the 45 over the 42, and you press equals, and it simplifies down to 15 over 14. Okay, now with those questions, you could go back to the very start and type that whole thing there into your calculator, the original question. If you type the whole thing in, you can check your answer and see if you get the right answer. Okay, but to get the marks, you have to show me that working out. Okay, all right. Question 6. Completely simplify the ratio. To simplify a ratio, the easiest thing to do is to type it in your calculator as a fraction. So you put the 40 on the top and you put the 64 on the bottom, and the calculator will simplify it down for you. You just have to put it back as a ratio for your answer. So that would be 5.8. Okay, I don't want to see fractions for answers. You put it back as a ratio, okay? Question 7, divide $260 in the ratio 4 to 1. So this is where you have to add the 2 parts of the ratio together. So 4 plus 1 makes 5. So if these were 2 people, the first person would get 4 out of the 5 parts, and you times that by the 260. The second person gets 1 out of the 5 parts, and you times that by the 260. You just want to calculate each of those things. So for the first one, you should get $208, and the second person only gets $52. Okay, show me the calculations. Okay, I encourage you all to please always show you working out. If you make a mistake on your calculator, I can't give you any marks. But if you show me some working out, I might be able to still give you something for your working, even if your answer is wrong. Question 8. Write 38% as a fraction in simplest form. Percentages, there's a diagram that we should have on our cheat sheet. To get from a percentage to a fraction, what do we do? Divide by 100. So it's 38 over 100, or divided by 100. But we do want to simplify that, so we put it in here, 38 over 100, and we press equals, and that is 19 over 50. Question 9, find 53% of 190. So 53 is a percentage again, so percentages are always over 100. The word of means times by the 190. Okay, so for all those kind of questions, it's the percentage over 100 times by the amount. And you type it in, 53 over 100 times by 190. And because it would make more sense if I put that as a decimal. So 100.7 or 0.70, I don't mind if you just do the 0.7. Or even if you left it as a fraction, I'd still mark that one right. Question 10. Sienna scored 30 out of 48 on her maths test. So how would you write that? If I was giving you a score on a test, I'd write that as a fraction, wouldn't I? I would go 30 out of 48. That's often what you see on the top of your test papers, your score written as a fraction. If you want to calculate your percentage, again, we're back to that diagram again, to go from a fraction to a percentage, you times by 100. Okay, and you type that in your calculator and you get 62.5%. How are you guys going? You getting all right? The 3 of you that did it yesterday? Mostly right? Mostly right. Picking up a few things tomorrow. Question 11 on the next page. Increase 410 by 30%. So first of all, you have to find out what 30% is. And we did a question similar to this. To find 30%, you do 30 over 100 and you times it by the amount, the 410. Okay, that equals 123. If you are asked to increase, you want to add your starting amount, the 410, with that amount that you just found, the 123. So you should get 533 for your final amount. If it was a decrease question, the only difference would be that you would subtract on this second line. Everything else would be the same. Ashton?
I did it 410 over 100 times 30, but I still got it right.
Yeah, you're lucky. Yes. Yeah, that's a bit of a coincidence. Please put your percentage over 100. Question 12. Carla has an annual yearly, so annual means yearly, income of $97,620. How much will she earn in a week? If I want to go from something in years to something in weeks, I need to know how many weeks are in a year, which is 52. Now I want to divide up that 97,620. I want to divide it into the 52 weeks. So 97620 divided by 52. And remember, anything with money, you expect it to do 2 decimal places. So that's 1877.31. Question 13, some conversions, and I hope you all have that conversion diagram. I drew it a few times on the board. how to convert all these different types of time. To get from days to hours, what do? Don't tell me the answer. How many hours are in a day? Sorry, what did you say? 24. So you want to times that by 24. 5 times 24 means that there's going to be 120 hours in 5 days. How about fortnights to days? How many days are in one fortnight? Fortnight is 2 weeks, remember?
14.
So 14 days. So you're going to times that by 14. 3 times 14 is 42. C, we want weeks to days. So how many days are in a week? So I'm going to times by 7. 10 times 7 is 70 days. And 8 minutes to seconds. How many seconds are in a minute? So I'm going to times by 60, which is 480 seconds. Yeah? Okay. Question 14. Rose is a part-time receptionist. She earns $42 per hour. Find Rose's time and a half rate of pay. So that's just if she gets $42, if she does some overtime and gets time and a half, you just have to times 42 by 1.5. Now you can type that in as 1.5 on your calculator if it's that will be faster, or you can type the full thing in if you use the one with the 3 boxes. Okay, that will equal $63. Find her double pay. What's her double rate of pay? What should I do there? Which number am I timesing by 2? Not the 63, that was a time and a half. It's the original one, that's right. So I do the 42, and that one needs to be doubled now, which means times by 2, which means she gets $84 an hour when she's working at double time rates. And part C wants to bring all of that together. So calculate Rose's pay in a week where she works 25 hours at normal rate. So let's just start with that. 25 hours. What's her normal pay rate? Normal, just normal pay rate. 42. Okay, so there's her normal one. Then I have to add on the next part. 6 hours at time and a half. So 6 hours. What is her time and a half rate? That was the $63 that I worked out. Now, if you don't use the 63, you could also write in there 6 times 42 times 1.5 again. If you hadn't already worked those out, that would also give you the same thing. But because we'd already worked out the 63, it makes it easy to put that number straight in. Plus, she does some double time. She does 2 hours of double time. So 2 hours, what's her double time rate? 84 is what we worked out for her double time. Okay, it's a long sum, but you just have to type that whole thing in your calculator. What did you get for her pay? Anyone get that one? Ooh, no one's willing to tell me. It should be 1596. Okay, remember everything on here you need to be able to do tomorrow. There'll be questions very, very similar. We do, yes. Question 5. Find the simple interest earned. Okay, so as soon as you see those words simple interest, hopefully this is on a formula sheet somewhere, you need to write down the formula I equals PRN. P stands for the amount of money. So my amount of money here is $20,000. So $20,000. It actually stands for principal. That's why it's P, but it's the amount of money that's there. The R stands for interest rate. This is what's R, rate, the rate. So the rate is always the percentage one, but you want to write that as a fraction, not as a percentage. So you want to go 4 over 100. Okay, and the last thing is the N, which is the number of years, which is, in this case, 3. And because there was the PRN all next to each other, that's why I've timed them all together. Each of those things are times because they're next to each other. And you type that in your calculator, and that means that you would get $2,400 of interest. Okay? Question 16. Consider the expression 8x minus 2y minus 7z plus 4. Okay, so this is into the algebra stuff here. State the number of terms. The terms are the things that are separated by the plus and minus signs. So there is 4 terms in there. 4. State the coefficient of the x term. Okay, so my x term is this one here. The coefficient means the number in front, which is the 8. And state the constant term. Constant term is the one that does not have any letters, which is going to be the one on the end here, which is going to be a 4. Please remember, though, if there was a minus sign, you would have to include that as well. So, for example, the coefficient of the y is minus 2, not just 2. If you write 2, it's wrong. You have to put minus there if there's a minus sign, okay? Question 17. Simplifying by adding and subtracting the like terms. So as long as they have the same letters, all we need to do is add the numbers in front. So we can see we've got an x term and another x term. So I just add 6 plus 3 makes 9 x's. Don't change the letters. You just add the numbers in front of the ones that have the same letters. Okay, so the next one, we have a z and a z. And so I can subtract, it's a minus sign this time, I just subtract the numbers out the front. 12 take away 5 is 7. 7 z's. Make sure your z doesn't look like a 2. Part C. Now this one's the more complicated type because there are different letters in here. You can only put the h's with the h's and the j's with the j's. Okay, so I've highlighted the h's to start with. And I have also highlighted the plus in front of the 3 because that's telling me I have to add them. You always take the symbol in front. It is 8 plus 3, which is 11. So I have 11 H's. And now I need to look at the J's. So I have 5J, a positive 5J, and there's a minus sign on that one. I want to take away 3. What's that going to make? Yes, 5 take away 3 is 2. So is it a positive 2 or a negative 2 though? It's a positive 2 that I have left. A plus 2j for the rest. Okay. Do not confuse question 17 with question 18. So question 17, you can see we've got plus and minus signs in there. They're all adding and subtracting. Okay, we need like terms for them. But when you do question 18, look in here, we now have multiplication signs and division signs. Okay, this is different. To multiply, you just multiply any numbers and you collect up any letters. So 7w times 4w, I times the numbers, 7 times 4 is 28. But a w times a w makes a w squared. This is where the letters will change. Okay, and let's do another one. So in B, you can do it with 3 of them as well. You just multiply all 3 numbers together. 3 times 2 times 5 is 30. And you collect up all the letters. I have x's and y's there. I have 2 x's, so that's x squared. And I have 2 y's, so y squared. Make sense? Good. Okay, dividing is kind of the reverse of the multiplying. You want to divide the numbers, and if there is a letter in the first one and the second one, they will cancel out. So for C, 50 divided by 10 is 5. Because there's only a h with the first one, it won't cancel, it'll stay there, it'll be 5h. But in D, a fraction is also a divide, don't forget that, so that's still a dividing question. We want to divide 10 by 18, and the reason this is written as a fraction is because that doesn't go exactly. Like 50 divided by 10, that went 5, that was a nice number. If they don't go nicely, we want to keep it as a fraction. So you can use your calculator to simplify that fraction down, just the number part. So you type in the 10 on the top, and you type the 18 on the bottom, and you just press equals. Okay, so I know my numbers are going to come down to 5 over 9. But the letters remember, if there's one on the top and one on the bottom, they will cancel. The F on the top and the F on the bottom, I'm going to cross them out. They cancel out. The G is still there. Where is it going to go? Yeah, because it's on the bottom, it has to stay on the bottom down here with the 9. So it's 5 over 9G. Okay, if it was on the top, if there was a letter left on the top, then it would stay on the top. Okay, you don't switch them from top to bottom. They stay where they were originally. Question 19, expanding brackets. You multiply whatever's out the front by each term. So 7 times 3x. 7 times 3 is 21, and the x will sit next to it. We have a minus sign in the bracket there, and now I multiply the second one. 7 times 2 is 14. That is it. That's all you can do. You can't subtract those things because one of them has an x and one of them doesn't. Okay, so that's it. Question 20, solving equations. This is where we do the opposite because we want to get the letter, the x here, by itself. So any numbers with it, we have to move away. So the 6, the opposite of a plus 6 is to minus 6. And we cross those out because it cancels away. X will be all that's left on the left-hand side of that equation. And 13 take away 6 is 7. So there's your answer. That's a one-step equation because there was only one number that we had to move away. In part B, we're trying to find W. Okay, this is also a one-step equation. These were pretty easy ones. These ones, maybe I should give you a harder one. I want the W, which means the 5 on the bottom, I need to get rid of it. What's the opposite? Times, good. So I'm going to go times by 5, times by 5. W is now by itself. Whoops, W is now by itself. Change to my pen, please. Yeah. And 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, they were just one-step equations. You will have two-step equations and some harder ones, but this was only a very brief outline. You couldn't put everything in it. It was only a quiz. On the next page, Pythagoras' Theorem. So this is the last topic that we did. So Pythagoras' Theorem to find the shorter side. Okay, it's telling me in the question that it's the shorter side. This is on your formula sheet, or at least it should be. The formula is A equals big square root of h squared minus b squared. The h is the longest side. It's the 14. It's the one across from the right angle. The b is going to be the 8. And we put those in the formula. So that's going to be square root of 14 squared take away 8 squared. Always check the question to see where you're rounding it. So that one said 1 decimal place. So square root of 14 squared take away 8 squared equals 11.5, yes. And it is also in centimetres. Because we had centimetres there, we can include that in our answer as well.
If we don't include that, that should be included. Do we get?
I probably wouldn't deduct it. No, probably not. Question 22. Find the value of the pronumeral corrected 2 decimal places. As soon as you see an angle in here, you know we've gone to trigonometry. We're doing SOHCAHTOA. Okay? So from that 5 degrees, the x would be the adjacent, and the 6.82 is the hypotenuse. So thinking of SOHCAHTOA, which one's that? Cos, good. I write my formula down. Cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. I sub into the formula. The theta is the angle, so it's cos 5 equals. The adjacent was the x. The hypotenuse was the 6.82. To get the x by itself, it's on the top. So when x is on the top, what do? Times it, that's right. So x comes over to the left, and I want to times the 6.82 with the cos 5. And you type that in your calculator. 6.82 times cos of 5 equals, and this one asks for 2 decimal places. So it'd be 6.79. And again, I could include the kilometres there since that was given to me in the question. One last little one here, question 23. Find the value of theta to the nearest degree. This is again trigonometry. I'm just trying to get the angle this time. If we're trying to get an angle, that means we need to do the inverse, sine or cos or tan, whatever we're given there, of the number that we'll have there. So when we do it with a triangle, it's usually a fraction, but this one's a decimal, that's okay. We press inverse sine, which is shift sine on our calculator, and we type in the 0.52. And it says to the nearest degree, which means we don't want any decimal places. So the first decimal place there is a 3, which will round down. So theta is just going to be equal to 31 degrees. Okay?